Today I'm going to be talking about what it takes to compete in the next decade. And this is a pretty popular seminar. I speak to recyclers, and I also speak to entrepreneur groups, and it's interesting, I recently spoke at a convention for office supply companies, 600 office supply companies that formed a cooperative association to compete with Office Depot, Staples, and Office Max. And it was amazing how much their problems were exactly like the recyclers' problems. But they needed overnight delivery, they needed pricing at a much lower level, so on, and they knew they couldn't compete with Office Depot and Office Max and Staples without forming a co-op, getting together, having a central warehouse where everything gets FedExed every night, so on and so on. But it was funny because I have a little joke that I tell auto recyclers, and it doesn't really work for Lions Club, and it doesn't work for bankers because nobody gets it but auto recyclers. But I told it at the Office Supply Association, and it worked with them. And the joke kind of goes like this. This lady comes in this door, and she's just sobbing, and she says, well, I've been married 3 times, and I still haven't consummated my marriage. And the bartender says, oh my God, what happened? She said, well, the first time I was married to a lawyer, and all he ever wanted to do was argue. And then I was married to a physician, and all he ever wanted to do was examinations. He said, well, what about the third husband? Well, the third husband owned a junkyard. Well, that should have been okay. No, he always said, I got it, but he never could find it. And who would have thought that in the office, but imagine all the SKUs and all the paper and all the boxes in the back, and they know it's back there, and the computer tells them it's back there, but they can't find it. So that was the first time that I ever got to use the joke with a group other than auto recyclers. I want to look at a little bit at the size of the industry, talk about consolidation. The future is not going to get any easier, and I'm sure you've noticed that it seems like the faster you pedal, the more behind you get. The more you advance, the more complicated things become. And of course, technology and competition and a lot of other things have changed the environment in which we're working. A little bit about the past. It won't do us much good to talk about it, so I only got one slide to talk about the past, because we're not going to be able to change the past. The good days are gone. Some of the folks in the room are old enough to remember when we could buy a car for $100 and sell $600 or $700 or $800 worth of parts off of it. But we had cost of goods that looked like 20%, easily a half or even a third what they are today. Meaning that today we might pay $1,000 for a car that we only sell $2,500 worth of parts off of. Back then, if we paid $1,000 for a car, we sold $5,000 worth of parts. So the gross margins have changed dramatically. Our insurance cost, if we even had it, was very low. Our labor cost was low. We had no environmental concerns or cost. And we had very few zoning and legal problems. Why working together? And I always try to talk about working together when I'm in an association meeting, because I'm a big supporter of associations. I went to every ARA meeting. I went to every state meeting. Granted, at the state meetings, we didn't have as many educational seminars, and we spent a lot of time maybe in the bar. I don't drink, but I don't mind hanging out with people that do. And just talking and exchanging information. And I gave a lot of presentations for the state and the national associations through those decades, and still do. This year at the ARA convention, I was asked to give us a presentation on succession. And you know you're getting old when they ask you to give a presentation on succession. 50% of the consulting assignments with salvage yards end up being about dads and sons and moms and daughters and brothers and people that won't sell to another generation or that won't change, and things are not what they ought to be, but they know they need to make a change, but they can't. And so I try to facilitate and help in those matters, because it's hard for dads to talk to sons. I know nobody in the room could understand that, but it's hard to talk to a son, and of course Mama's always over there, and it's always complicated. And of course in those old days, everybody was on the payroll. Mom was on the payroll, brothers and sisters. Sometimes they didn't even work. They weren't even around. And of course today, if you have people on the payroll that aren't working, you are really burdened, because you need everybody that's on the payroll to be working. The first key to the future really is to work together. And I know that we look at each other and we exchange niceties at the convention, and we think that we don't share a lot of meaningful information, but you'd be surprised what you learn at the associations. And I know that you talk to your friends. Some of them are friendly competitors, some of them are farther away, and you exchange ideas and you see what other people are doing. You probably attend some presentations. And in the moment, it's hard to see what you're learning. But when you look back over a long time, it's easy to see that you are learning. The fact that you're here tells me that you're interested in learning and that you're some of the more progressive recyclers in the area. Because there's a lot of people that aren't here. And I did a consulting assignment Tuesday in Chicago for a salvage yard, and I'm just amazed. I mean, there's so many still out there. The guy, he has 28 employees, and he runs, it had to be the worst place I've ever been to. I've never seen so much oil dumped on the ground. It was totally amazing. No door on the men's restroom. I just couldn't believe it. I mean, who has a business? Hopefully, everybody in the room has a door on their restroom, okay? But I mean, we're talking 1970s here. Granddad built this place in 1967. They only sell $500,000 a month. Oh my God, $6 million a year. And they're under a consent decree from the EPA and still dumping the oil on the ground. I just could not believe it, could not believe it. But trust me, I'm convinced that everybody here has a door on their restroom and you're here because you want to learn more, and that nobody is literally just dumping huge amounts of oil on the ground. I'm convinced of that. Even today, unlike other aftermarket competitors, our margins are generous. And I know everybody says, oh my God, cars are so high. I talked to a guy last week that said, I just want to know, I want you to tell me how I'm going to stay in business, because every single car is going to Russia. Well, I know a lot of cars go to Russia. He's on the eastern seaboard. He said, no, you don't understand, Ron. On the eastern seaboard, all the cars are going to Russia. And I hate it when I hear that doomsayer kind of attitude, because everybody is dealing with cars that cost more than they ever have. And the people that are paying attention, trust me, I'm there. The people that pay attention are weathering that storm. They're learning to buy smarter. We're much stronger when we work together. The market is so big, we're still not even a rounding area. We need the association. This is called the Pie Conspiracy, and I wrote it in 1998 for a URG newsletter. And it says, help me get a bigger piece of the pie, stop them from getting a piece of the pie, their piece of the pie is bigger than mine, make new rules, the person cutting the pie is not being fair, so on and so on. And I'm just telling you, those days are gone. The market is bigger than us, and I know you guys and girls, you answer the phone, and a guy says, well, I need this engine. And it's something really rare, and you're the only one that has it, and you give them the price, and you never hear from them. The world is a busy place and a noisy place, and there's a lot of stuff going on. Where did they go? In the 80s, when I was wrecking import cars, foreign cars, what they called, everybody thought I was funny. I was kind of funny, okay, because I mean nobody wrecked foreign cars. There were Toyotas, okay, we had Toyotas then, and of course the people that wrecked foreign cars were just different than everybody else. But everything has changed, and the guys tried to block me out of the auction, and the market is bigger than you. You cannot control the market. You've got to focus your energy on doing the best you can do and not disregard, but you can't spend all your energy on trying to solve the competitive environment of the world. People like Ian Mott in Canada went out of business because he's fighting the government because the titling situation in the way they were allowing people in the pools that shouldn't be there, and so on and so on. I'm not saying we shouldn't try to control the way cars are bought and who can buy them and where and when and so on and so on. But don't let it consume you, and don't let it make you cynical about the world.